Welcome to What the Flick, everybody. Breaking Bad, Season 5, B, Episode 2, Buried. Buried? Why?
The money.
The money.
The money.
And also metaphor.
The money
And everyone's feelings.
And the meth lab.
Yeah.
right.
True. Yeah.
And the meth lab.
There's a lot going on
Let me
underground.
start talking about the meth lab.
Sure.
Because I love Lydia as a television character. I mean, I think she is so incredibly complicated and seemingly sort of, befuddled and out of place, but yet I don't think it's an accident that she's alive and thriving and is apparently totally unknown to the DEA.
Yeah, she's like this sort of sweet mommy on the one hand, like when we first meet her with her kid and worried about blah, 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 but clearly ruthless, but ruthless in a very sort of corporate accepted kind of way. So the fact that she is actually a corporate executive and behaves like a corporate executive who happens to also be this international drug cartel unto herself works really well. And I can't imagine a better metaphor for how corporations behave than her walking through the field of dead bodies with her eyes closed, so she doesn't have to actually see what she perpetrated. That was one of my favorite moments of this whole series.
There's some talk online about her shoes and she's too much of a girl and would she ever have worn
Louboutins into the desert.
Part of that is, again, I think is sending this message to the guy she's doing business with that she's the last person you think is going to
her Louboutins are Gus Fring's short sleeve button down with the tie.
Right.
It's all dazzle camouflage.
Yeah, man, that was a great scene.
Yeah, she also shows the benefits of being completely anal retentive. And it's one of the, you're trying to reconcile all of it. Like, how does she execute that? Because when you first see her, you think this girl is out of place. It is strange, and a lot of people I thought had a negative response to how physically disconcerted she was all the time, and ill at ease, and the neuroses being so physically.
Yeah, that first meeting with Mike, where she's with the hot water and the
Right, where she was. What kind of tea did she want? She wanted like peppermint chamomile.
Anything that wasn't Lipton.
They had Lipton, and so she just got
hot water and stevia.
That's right, hot water and stevia.
Yeah, and I love how well she executes everything. And Todd has remained a favorite character of mine.
Yeah.
Does Todd not look like Matt Damon's younger brother? Totally.
Well, he's Lancaster Dodd's son.
What's his
from
name?
The Master.
Jesse Plemons. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he was in, of course, Friday Night Lights.
Right.
Yeah.
Matt Seitz of The Vulture points out that he's become the sort of good son of Walt as opposed to Jesse, who has now become the bad son.
I think they set that up pretty well. Where he wants this guy to be the ideal of what his offspring could have been, given that the two son figures he has are so apparently flawed. But then again, you think of this guy, you have his actual biological son who has, neurodegenerative diseases, and then the other Jesse who, he took under his wing and
who has
continued
a moral
to
compass. How dare he?
Yeah, right. And all Walt does is mine that and try to just get rid of it and undermine it. And then he's got this other guy. However, how good an example can your child be if he's also murdering people and in a meth lab?
Immoral,
yeah.
Right, but kind.
He's a kind murderer.
He's a kind murderer, right.
And those guys are great, wickedly efficient. All that band of inmates that just show up.
They get shit done.
Right. So they've killed about 20 people in the last 3 weeks.
And it should be observed. I mean, Todd doesn't look. Nothing about the look of Todd says drug dealer any more than anything about the look of Lydia does. Like they've figured out how to operate in this world. Oh wait, maybe if I don't get a tattoo on my face and have a haircut and a shower every so often, like I will blend in more with general pop.
Do you like Skyler?
I'm fascinated by Skyler. I think that she has had to make really tricky choices, and I think the easy read on her is, oh, she's such a bitch. But I think that, she went from being sort of horrified by Walt's activities and thinking about her family first to finally realizing that, I guess, just sort of embracing the reality of the situation in terms of, he's this far into it, and we do need the money. So she becomes sort of a helpmate to some extent. And then I love her showdown with Hank this episode, where she clearly goes to that meeting thinking Hank has got the goods on Walt and trying to figure out what she's going to do, how she'll participate. But being very quiet and drawing him out and letting Hank reveal the fact that he doesn't have the evidence he needs, that he needs her to testify, and she shuts that shit down.
That was a great scene.
Yeah.
That was some acting.
That was some amazing acting.
Am I under arrest?
Shortness of breath.
Those were just like they're even before the explosion was great. Am I under arrest? But I mean, Dean Norris's, his sort of, so you'll record, you'll say, this is, and her like confusion, looking like she's constantly trying to read a signal from him.
What are you saying?
What are you doing? And like you said, I mean, I think we all know that if he'd said, I have this, I have the proof, she would have recognized, I got to make a deal. Like she's clearly willing to make a deal, even if all the things that Hank said about her were true, right? That he was looking out for her, that he wanted to help her, that the best way with the district attorney is to get out in front of it. He's still giving her terrible advice. She should still talk to a lawyer because of the very thing that Hank says at the end to Marie, which is, as soon as I bring this in, I'm a civilian. I'm off this.
Right.
And then as soon as he's off it, he's right. Then whoever, if it helps them to put the screws to use the kids as leverage against Skyler, of course they would.
The question with Skyler was, is she a bitch? But I think they did a really good job of setting up how her behavior and being perceived as a bitch, she's been put in that position by Walt and everyone, and she got isolated and she got forced into this position, and especially in this episode, you start to understand that, and it's starting to happen to Hank. They're doing a great job of showing, like, when you break bad, you slowly start to isolate everyone in your family and put them in impossible positions.
And I think that it's interesting that cancer has been sort of the overriding metaphor of this show, because really, in a way, cancer, despite the literal cancer that Walt has, Heisenberg is his cancer too. It devours what was ever sort of good inside of him and makes him a worse and worse person, willing to do worse and worse deeds. And now we're seeing that unlike cancer, that it's infectious, and his his chain of events are now tapping into all the people that are closest to him.
I was in that camp, I guess, that Skyler was a bitch, and it never felt terribly sophisticated to be in that camp. But then I suppose because at the moment you start thinking about Skyler, Hank is starting to break bad, but you're still rooting for Hank. Like at the moment when Skyler, it's like she saw
where this was going.
Like she's like the only person who saw where this was going, right?
I mean, and yeah, she had an affair. She's not perfect. I mean, she's done.
Oh, that I cared least about it. So no, I care more about her personal treatment, like on a day-to-day basis. I mean, she made life rather miserable there for her.
Right, but then he turns around, and I mean, there's this very sort of kind of creepy, abusive husband vibe when he sort of announces, well, I'm moving home now. It's time, and just gets into her bed. It's like, yeah.
I just mean the affair with Ted seems in many ways the least of their problems.
It's just our experience with the development and the decay of Walt's moral compass over time. Like, we've spent time with him and that, and he has gotten worse by degrees, and you kind of have to readjust yourself to knowing that Skyler, when all those episodes where she turns into a bitch, she's just figuring out how to deal with this. And he's had time, and we've had time with him and Jesse to watch that devolution.
And that's been kind of interesting, I think, with last week with Hank and this week with Marie, where they they find out what's going on, and then they start working backwards. Oh wait, so did you? Were you part of? Oh wait, did you? So that's what I love about this show, how that they've stacked all this stuff up that's happened, and then how much you find out and who knows what, and when they discover it it's a really interesting sort of trail of breadcrumbs to follow.
And that scene where Marie is sitting there with Skyler was one of my favorite scenes I've seen on a television show in a long time. It is a great way to figure out, as a writer and as a showrunner, how you're going to make that happen, how you're going to get Marie to know everything, and how Skyler's not going to say anything in case Marie's recording her, and how Skyler can still keep her, presumptive.
Right.
Communicate without talking.
She's not incriminated herself. Yeah, I mean, I thought, I think Anna Gunn was in Deadwood, and I thought she was good in Deadwood, not always great. And here, because she was so unlikable at times, but like here I saw with that scene with Marie and the scene with Hank, like twice in one episode, like delivering this incredible performance in many cases without a word coming out of her. Like, that was great. Like, I have now, whatever you get, I got to get Anna Gunn for, when I do a show, I'm getting Anna Gunn. Yeah, she'll be so pleased.
And you'll note Jesse doesn't speak a word in this episode either,
right.
at all.
That's right.
And he has some of the most powerful moments. I mean, just that shot of him on that merry-go-round, sort of circling around.
And that's a trope. They have that when Walt went for his last scan. They did the shot down from above, and he rotated in the same way, and he's done that a couple times. That's when things are changing.
Oh, well, look at you. I thought, I hope that little things like that old guy who found Jesse and first found, I guess, 4 or 5 stacks of $10,000. I hope he, just keep that 50.
Yeah.
Just keep that 50, because Jesse doesn't know how much is in there. That is found money can never be accounted for. Like you don't pilfer the bag.
Right.
But you keep
Don't
40,
get crazy.
50 grand.
Just walk away quietly.
$70,000 in your pocket, put it in your car, be like, I found him. I threw the money I found back in there. Blah. Yeah.
I'm hoping Huel is also like 230, and then the rest is just wads of money stuck into his jacket.
The closing scene of this episode is maybe the most tender they've been in a long, long time.
Yeah, they are really there. That's an intimate scene together, and and he's positive that she would have. I'm certain that she would have turned him in if that's what she had to do. But now, right, she's sort of she's very smart. She figured it out. I loved this episode. I think in many ways I like this episode better than last week's, which I thought in some ways was impossible. But I love when kind of nothing happens except intense conversations.
Well, and it's interesting that even for a show that took 4 seasons to cover about a year, we are now in the moment. Like finds leaves the grass in the toilet, and that's where we start. And then they're fighting in the garage, and that's where we start. And now we're going to pick up in the interrogation. It's like there's not a wasted second.
No,
and hanging over all of this is the flash forward.
Right, is this flash forward, right. So where I guess first of all, so 6 months, he's not dead. And he's got a full head of hair. I don't know, there was just so many right things about this. How about that drive home for Hank and Murray? Like what? Do we stop for English muffins? What is going on in that fucking drive home, man? Final thought, is Hank right that he's doomed as an investigator, as a DEA agent, because this happened right under his nose? And is finding a critical piece of evidence, is bringing the whole thing, does that solve it? Does that save him? Or does he just want to say, as my final act, at least I'm going to do is because it seems like he's doing.
I'm taking you down too.
It seems like one piece of evidence, critical or not, doesn't save him if he believes that he's got to go when it turns out his brother-in-law was Heisenberg.
At least if I bring in that, then I'll be the one who caught him. He still thinks he's done.
Okay.
I don't know how done he really is, but I like scenes like that where I go in going like, how are you going to explain to me, Mr. Detective, why you are not going directly to your cohorts and telling them exactly who Heisenberg is? Explain to me. And then I watch the episode and I go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
I see why he's thinking that way, yeah.
And there's apparently a theory floating around online that the Ricin capsule means that the ending of this show is going to be like the last act of Hamlet.
Yeah.
Really?
So who knows?
Huh. All right, well, that's intriguing. Yeah, right, the Ricin. I forgot about the Ricin. Oh my God. All right. Next week, it's just regular old season 5B, episode 3. Yeah, whatever it is.
It's over so soon.
I know. All right, thanks everybody.